welcome to Senior Solutions. I'm Karen Halloran, and today we have on the show Tracy Valletti from Northeast Care Management. Thank you for coming on the show, Tracy. Great to see you.
It's nice to see you too, Karen. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, we may as well just jump right into, and you can tell us what your practice is.
Sure. So I offer adult and geriatric care management services, and that is basically, think of us like a general contractor. If you were to build a house, you hire a general contractor to get all of the pieces together so that the building of the house is seamless, right? And it's smooth. That's basically what we do for people's health care.
So basically, geriatric care manager, the acronym is also GCM.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Because sometimes people get confused with that and they're like, what do those three letters mean?
Yep.
What is your background, Tracy? I know because we've known each other forever, but let everyone know what your background is.
Sure. So I have a master's in gerontology, and I have a certified dementia practitioner certificate as well. And I have been in healthcare for over 20 years. I've been in nursing homes. I have been in assisted livings. And then most recently, I opened this practice. Prior to opening this practice, I was managing assisted livings. So I'm very familiar with that landscape.
So what actually drove you to get involved with the elderly and care management? What was it that made you say, this is what I want to do?
I think I've always been drawn to the elderly anyways, even as a child. I always, they resonated with me. I always wanted to sit with them. I enjoyed their company. And then, I had out of school, I did something else, but then it just kind of navigated that way. I got involved in some, I worked for a chiropractor's office, and then I decided to kind of merge some of my, I was very creative, and decided to go into, I started in activities actually in a nursing home. And I think that just kind of, I loved it. I loved being able to engage with the elderly, the seniors who were really going through a lot of transitions, whether they were admitting to long-term care or whether they were in there for short-term rehab, and trying to help them, inspire them, keep them engaged. And I absolutely loved it. I thought, this is it. This is the field I've always been wanting to get into. And then I just, when I was in that nursing home, then, just kind of went along the route that they wanted me to go. They progressed me through management, and then one thing led to another, and I went into assisted living, but at the crux of the whole matter is really really being engaged with the families and the elderly, like what they're going through right now, and having falls, or that landed them in a SNF, a skilled nursing facility, and trying to understand what was at the root of why they landed where they were. And I wanted to help them.
Yeah, you're really well-rounded in the field. Seems like you've worked in every area, basically, before you started with your practice now.
Yeah, and I think, in the activities in my practice, I think that really kind of helped navigate how, and really structure how I wanted my practice to be. Because, you can do all the navigation you want in somebody to make them safe, but basically when it comes down to, are they happy?
Right.
Right.
So where are your offices located? Like, what is your area?
Yep. So I have an office in Peabody and an office in Andover. So we cover the Merrimack Valley, the North Shore, Greater Boston, and a little bit west of Boston as well. Like, we'll go out, even to Quincy, like that's down the south, down to Concord, even a little bit beyond. It just depends on what actually the person needs from it. Like, what does the family need? When we go in, we assess somebody, and then we give that roadmap. Basically, we develop a care plan, and we give the family a roadmap. This is what they need. This is in order to keep your mom and dad safe at home, if that's what they're choosing. This is what you need, and this is what we recommend, and we will help piece that together. So we can do things even down the Cape, as long as we don't have to be there daily or monthly or whatever that person needs, because it's really out too far for us when we need to put eyes on people. But if a family says, we really want you in here, I can give them the roadmap, and then if they want to take off and do it on their own, then that's fine. But if we have to be in on a regular basis, we really don't want to be too outside of our territory. It's just too hard to check in on somebody. Correct. And to advocate them for them if they want to go, if they need to go into a hospital, if they land up in the ER. It's pretty hard to navigate if you're 75 miles away.
So you're helping them navigate through nursing homes, assisted living, independent living, whether they want to stay at home.
Yep.
All of those different choices. There's so
Right.
many for people to try and navigate through. I can see why they would need somebody to help them. It can become very overwhelming.
Yeah, a lot of times, and this is really what drove me into the care management field, was because I could see the frustration that families felt. They would call when I was an executive director in an assisted living. I need, my mom and dad. We just need to place them. We can't handle this anymore. But meanwhile, had they done it right 6 months ago or a year ago, they might not be at this situation right now.
Crisis.
Going, I'm done. This crisis. I'm done. We can't do it anymore. So if they had our support systems in place to keep their mom and dad safe and being checked on, they might not have needed to sell their home and do all that. Eventually, it usually comes to that, because when someone needs a certain amount of care, that care gets too expensive. You have to analyze the cost of being at home versus being in an assisted living with 24/7. Being able to have that whole scope of services that an assisted living provides. Or if they're medically not able to go into an assisted living, what's the best placement for a nursing home? But there's a lot of things that families can do prior to making those placement decisions. You just need the right guidance.
Right. It sounds like it's a really growing field. Do you find that geriatric care managers, it's growing?
It really is. I would say the majority of people have never heard of a care manager. And even those in the profession, in health field, don't know what a care manager is. Never heard of it. But when when we introduce ourselves to them and what our function is, they're like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. Because now you're not repeating conversations, or you're not having missed appointments, and they see the value, right? Because your loved one needs to get to say a dermatology appointment once a week because they've had an issue. Who's going to take them there? Right. And then who's going to pick up the meds or make sure that they're coordinating the agency nurse to come in and watch for, maybe it's a wound. There's so much involved in that, and once that crisis is solved, they're good. But meanwhile, those issues can be exacerbated because it's not being treated properly, right?
I know you help a lot of people. Could you think of somebody maybe in the forefront of your mind, a client now, how you're helping them and how it's helping the families?
Sure. Well, we have a lot of families that don't live in the area. So they live in maybe California, right? You have a loved one that, they see maybe once or twice a year. And, we have plenty of those clients. But yes, I have a client that, she's by herself and the family just isn't around. And that's okay. But they don't have any way to check in on them to make sure that she's okay. And you can call your loved one and they say, oh, everything's fine, right? You always hear,
right.
Oh, I'm fine. But meanwhile, they haven't paid their bills in 3 months.
Right.
They've got food that's maybe been sitting out for a couple of days, right? Which is dangerous. Or maybe they don't have any food. They don't have any way to get transportation, and they're eating peanut butter crackers for the last 3 days. So,
right.
There's so many situations. I have a client that, they were in an assisted living for years and spending a lot of money. And they had no idea that there were other assisted livings that have a tax credit program. Mm-hmm. Well, I was able to move them from their current situation to another situation. So instead of paying $9,000 a month, they were paying $2,000 a month.
Whoa,
So
that's a big change.
Yeah.
So I think from what you've told us, but maybe you could elaborate, does having a geriatric care manager make a difference in people's lives?
It does. I've had so many conversations with families. Once, you know, their loved one is placed or, you know, they're situated, they said, I wish I knew about you sooner. We would have saved time and money. And you know, our loved one maybe would have not gone to the hospital 3 times in between that, right? And declined because of those things. Maybe a terrible fall that they might have had they done their research. And people just don't know. But yes, they're so thankful.
That's great. That's great. It's, you know, the field is very tough. You know, there's a lot that's been going on since COVID and just trying to get everybody back into their normal routine.
Yeah.
What motivates you on a daily basis?
Well, I just love helping people, and it's so exciting to see when a plan you have put in place, and even though it might be a long-range plan, like you say, this is where we want to be here, right? You do things in stages, right? Because you can't go from A to Z, right? You have to do things in stages.
Break it down. You
have to break it down so that, one, everybody can absorb the plan, and you move slowly, because people can't move from A to Z. It's too hard for them. Mm-hmm. So when all is said and done, and you've gone from A to like what you wanted, what your goal was, it's so fulfilling to be able to see that happen. And the family's they're just so happy because their loved one is safe, they're happy, and they don't have to worry anymore, right?
That's so
and
rewarding.
It is. It's very rewarding.
That's very rewarding. There are a lot of geriatric care managers out there, a lot of different practices. What do you think makes yours stand out and is different?
Okay. So first, there aren't, in this area, in the North Shore, Greater Boston area, there's a lot of practices like Brookline and, you know, Concord, but on the North Shore, there aren't. There's only a couple. And then in Merrimack Valley, where I have an office in Andover, there are not. I'm the only geriatric care manager.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yep. So there's not a lot, but it's growing. But what differentiates me from other practices out there is that I have a registered dietitian, I have a social worker, I have a nurse practitioner, a nurse, an activity specialist.
Oh.
So I do, and she can provide education for those with dementia, and she can create an activity plan right in the home so that if they have outside caregivers or maybe even family members that are helping,
right.
Supporting the care for their loved one, it gives them a structure to their day, right? Because it's like, what do I do with mom or dad? What do I do all day? And so we build that into their day, so their day goes by fast. The loved one is, you know, engaged in things that they want to on their level, right? And then, and if the agency aide is engaged with doing an activity, everybody's happy. They're
Absolutely.
busy, they find purpose, and that's really what it's all about. Meaningful activities,
That's
whether it
great.
be exercise or spiritual or, you know, just learning emotional, purposeful things for them to get through the day. Because that's one of the, I would think, one of the things that is missing out of being at the home is that you don't have a lot of socialization.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes people will go to an adult day or a senior center, or maybe they do have some family members, but a lot of people don't have that. So you want to create that activity calendar to keep them engaged.
Because I think a lot of them don't even know what to do.
They don't even know
what. They just put the TV on, and you know, they'd like to have activities that they're interacting, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. They don't know what to do, and that's why we give them the tools.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. You are a wealth of knowledge. I'm so glad that we had you on today. I do like to ask 3 questions at the end.
Oh boy. Okay.
So, tell us a fun fact about you. It can be anything.
Well, my first career was I was a fashion designer.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow, that's quite a jump.
Yep.
That's
it
great.
Was. My aunt got dementia, and that's actually kind of what started me thinking
about
you to
get into
it.
The
did,
field.
right. And so when I was in activities, because of my art background, I was able to kind of combine my love for the elderly and my thirst to try to make their life, everybody's life, better for the end of their life. I wanted to make it as best as possible. So I kind of combined my art and my love for the seniors and creating really great, meaningful programs.
And I know that about you. You've done a lot of great things in the community. All right, another thing is we love pets on the show. We love animals. Do you have any pets?
I do not. Unfortunately, my dog passed away in September.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my Lucy was going to be 17 this past December, so she lived with us for a very long time. And then, she was a Lassapoo. So, but we do not. We are petless right now.
Okay, for right now.
For right now. Well, other than dog sitting for my daughter's dog.
Oh, that's good. At least you still have an animal in the house.
Yeah.
Nothing like it.
Yeah.
And now summer is almost here.
Yep.
Do you have any plans to travel? Any vacations planned?
I do. Yep. Going to the Cape in July, and then I'm going to Paris for the very first time.
How wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Yep.
That is fabulous.
Yep. My husband and I are going to Paris. So it will
Good
be our
for
first
you.
visit there.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell our viewers, if someone would like to get in touch with you, how would they do so?
Oh, sure. So again, it's Northeast Care Management, and you can reach me by email, which is Tracy, Tracy, at Northeast Care Management, or you can call me 978-758-2036. That's my cell. It's always on me. I always answer it. So I might be tied up, but I'll get back to you.
Thank you, Tracy. And at the end, we will put Tracy's information if you'd like to get in touch with her. So thank you for tuning in today. Until next time, have a great day.